We have Daphne helping us out this morning here on excellent Wednesday,
Flowers I got here.
Wednesday, May 20th, 2026 here in House Transportation. We are meeting this morning as there is an amendment to the miscellaneous motor vehicle law at S 326. Representative Noyes has an amendment. You all have a copy of it in your email. I also believe that Daphne just put it on our page. And we also have EMV, Ledge Council. We got a full house here this morning. Good morning, Representative Noyes. Please go ahead and join us in the witness chair and walk us through your amendment and your objective and what else you want to tell us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Chair Walker and members of the committee for considering the amendment I proposed on S 326 regarding Vermont vehicle inspection requirements. I tried to strike a balanced approach between safety, environmental responsibility, affordability, and financial realities that the transportation fund. While I believe Vermont should continue examining whether annual inspections or mandates are necessary, I also recognize the important competing interests. Inspection revenues support the T-Fund, many small businesses rely on the work, and there's a longstanding belief that inspections contribute to road safety. At the same time, my constituents, and quite honestly, all Vermonters, especially those living in rural communities, are facing growing financial pressures. For many people, vehicles are not optional, and the cost of ownership keeps rising. I think we can all agree that fixed route transportation, without that, cars are necessary for everyday life. Families are already managing rising costs related to fuel, insurance, registrations, repairs, and housings. Even relatively small reoccurring costs matter when we're kind of added up throughout the year. My amendment proposes moving non-commercial vehicle inspections to every other year while maintaining annual emissions compliance required unless the APA approves an amendment to Vermont's state implementation plan. It reduces costs for Vermonters while preserving emission oversight and ensuring the state remains compliant with our federal requirements. The amendment also directs the Department of Environmental Conservation to pursue amendments in the inspection and maintenance. Amendments to the inspection and maintenance state implementation plan so that Vermont can seek federal approval for biannual inspections. I believe Vermont should explore how other states in the Northeast ozone transportation regions are maintaining compliance without relying on annual inspection mandates for vehicles. In addition, the amendment directs the Department of Motor Vehicles to review inspection certificate fees to ensure these changes do not negatively impact the transportation fund revenue. It's important that any reforms be implemented responsibly with the understanding that the funds need to support our roads and bridges. I was pleased to see the work the committee did on redirecting the Department of Motor Vehicles to modernize the inspection manual by focusing inspections on genuine safety risks, eliminating outdated procedures, and providing clear guidance for mechanics and the public. I strongly support the intent that vehicles should only fail inspections for conditions that present an immediate safety concern, while less serious issues are treated as advisory items. I also appreciate the review of the current standards and outdated testing procedures to ensure the inspection process is more practical, transparent, and focused on meaningful safety outcomes. So my amendment is intended to move Vermont towards more affordable inspections without abandoning safety, environmental responsibilities, and sustainable transportation funding. Appreciate your consideration. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Noyes, for bringing this. The expectation would be, I think, if your vehicle is no more than 15 years old, I think that's something you have to have this emissions inspection. So you would still go through the process. But the thought is it would be less time, maybe the overall fee by the, they just check the lights, I think, and and read the car, so.
Right.
It seems like it'd be very simple.
Mhm.
So you would think if this was to move forward, the cost of having that done, even though you still gotta make the appointment, or maybe not. You know, you still have to go through that process. And any thought to, I bring my car in for that, only that. And they see something else, you know, like a bad tire or something.
Sure.
You know. Would they
Yeah, I mean,
ignore that, or, you know, I'm just wondering how this process.
point. I mean, it would be illegal to drive the car with a tire that's bald already. It's the responsibility of the shop to not let you leave. I think they would be best to point it out and to say, hey, look, you know, you should fix this. This is bad. You know, and I think it comes back to owner's responsibility for maintaining their vehicle. You know, because you have to go in every other year, to have the emissions tested, it gives that opportunity, you know, to have that conversation. But at the same point, I'm also asking that we look at amending to go to every other year. So
Yes. Yeah.
not have to go in every year.
Right, so
But at first,
that there would be movement by our Agency of Natural Resources to look at, hey, let's talk to the EPA and see if we can do every other year.
Mhm.
Those vehicles. Okay,
Representative Burke?
Yeah, have you talked to the ANR about this and other?
I did let the deputy secretary know that I was proposing this.
On the air quality division, that's right. I guess my concern is the emissions testing and concerned that, so you get your sticker for being inspected every other year, but how would you differentiate? How would somebody know that you've gone in for your emissions inspection?
So I think at first it's, you know, we have that automated system that has all the ability of, you know, it collects the data. So you would go in 1 year to get your sticker and they would do the whole safety thing. And then the following year, they would just do emissions, still have to pay the fee to the DMV for the inspection sticker, but it would be a much less, hopefully, fee, because they would just make sure that your check engine light was off and that your emission system was ready, and, you know, where they plug it in and make sure it hasn't just been reset.
My understanding is that it's very complicated to go to every other year, proposing this in a every other year emissions inspection because of the oversight of the air quality.
So, I mean, right now it's every year. So I would just be asking them to apply to find out if they could do it every other year. If they can't, they can't.
Casey? No, question was asked. No. Anybody else? Representative Noisen, you said something about, there's other states in the Northeast that maintain their compliance with air quality without inspections. Could you?
Yeah, New Hampshire, you know, does not have vehicle inspections now. I have no idea how they're getting around that. I know that the fines are pretty steep from, you know, if you're not in compliance. So, you know, perhaps we should look at that, see what they're doing to how they're making it work.
Well, I guess I'd have to respond to the testimony we heard here. I'm not an expert of any stretch on the air quality program. But we have had ANR in, and the air quality division did testify that New Hampshire is in lawsuit because they didn't get the waiver that you're talking about, that now they're in violation of their program because they went away from inspections without obtaining the waiver.
Right, and that's what I don't want to put us at that
Well,
liability.
I guess I would say that I agree. I don't want to be in that spot, but I'm curious to see how it plays out in terms of whether they were able to get a waiver. And I'm sort of looking at that and say, I wonder, maybe the time is coming, but I'm not supporting that we walk back from our environmental commitments, but I do think it matters how that plays out there in terms of we find out whether or not you can walk away from your annual inspections or not, which is what they tried to do. And now they're involved. Well, at least that's what we've heard in the testimonies. They're now involved in a lawsuit that they're watching pretty closely because there's obviously, I think there's some interest amongst other reps. So you're not the only one that's, looking to, we have to go on our wall to go to every other year. And we took testimony indirectly about that multiple times this year, particularly the air quality division. Representative White.
Thank you, Representative Boyce. So a couple questions, and a comment. We did hear some testimony. We did have some conversation about going to every other year, and there were some concerns brought up that you let a car go for 2 years versus one. Problems that are in existence will only be exacerbated by waiting another year. So it was suggested that problems could get much more expensive by only addressing them every other year. So, and again, like, I don't have data on that, but that was a
Right.
comment. And obviously, I mean, I think one of your goals is affordability. So, making car maintenance more affordable for Vermonters than less. So it's kind of a black hole in terms of understanding, whether that would actually be the case if we went to every other year, but that's a concern that was brought up. Another concern is we've got this mileage-based user fee for electric vehicles in the T-bill, which is not quite baked, but it's close. And so the annual inspection is significant in this mileage-based user fee plan, and the annual inspection is where the EV would kind of true up their mileage driven every year and pay the fee required. So anyway, that would kind of have to be addressed, and that has also brought up, that is requiring basically that EVs would need to have their inspection to get registered every year. If you're talking about, going to every other year for inspections, but still maintaining our emissions requirements, and that might still require, a stop at the inspection station every year. What is the state's ability to make sure that is happening? And maybe there also is tying that inspection to registration. It's like, how else would you enforce that? If you're only going in every other year. So is that something that is amenable to you?
I mean, I think if we do go to a mileage-based fee, they're gonna have to come up with different ways to collect that money. If someone drives a lot and you're hitting them up every year, I mean, this gonna have to come up with a lot of different ways to make sure people don't get in over their head, first of all. And secondly, by bringing your car in, or, maybe it's something tied to, like you're saying, registration, where, in order to re-register your car, you have to be trued up on your, whatever you had for mileage the previous year. I mean, there's going to have to have a lot of talk around how to implement a mileage-based fee. Maybe obviously looking at what other states are doing. How do they make people go in, and do they have annual inspections?
So, I mean, knowing that the mileage-based user fee, like right now, the proposal is tied to the annual inspection. Do you think it would be fair to tie the inspection to registrations for all vehicles? I guess that's my question. Because I'm seeing it like that could be a way to check.
Sure.
What you're suggesting,
So-
emissions.
So when you go to register your car, you have to have proof that the emission system is working, whether it's every year or every 2 years, and that you've passed the safe. Good. I mean, that's gonna hold more people's feet to the fire in terms of, you're not gonna be able to have your car registered if you don't have the inspection. I mean, what is the numbers I heard somewhere? There's a significant amount of people that don't have inspection stickers right now. That might solve that problem a little bit.
Representative Powell.
And again, I appreciate this.
Yeah.
And, on the surface, I kind of like the idea to save people the time. It's not only money, I gotta schedule this, and, I gotta go in the afternoon, and now I got lunch at work, and I gotta figure out how to do it. So there's a much higher cost, I think, in the back end than the front end. And I don't have any data, but we did ask some questions, been asking questions. There's a fee. When you get inspected, there's a fee that goes to the
Right, what is-
DMV. It's not very much, it's
16,
it's
it was $12, but it went up, right?
it's gone up a little bit. And I question whether that actually covers what the DMV has to spend to monitor the program and, you know, and audit the, and all that. And so, you know, I think that would be an important piece to look at. If, you know, whether those costs are being covered and what is the overall
And-
cost to the state to have the program in the first place. And whether those fees are covering it and how this might impact it, although you're sort of saying it could be adjusted.
Well, I think in section 22, D says, take a look at that, figure out,
Yeah.
like, are we at least breaking even on these things? And if we do go to every other year, what does that look like? For not losing the revenue we need for our roads and bridges?
Yeah, well, I think the revenues go to running the program.
Sure.
You know, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it goes to
Nobody covers it.
agency of transportation, sure. It's gotta come from somewhere.
Anybody else? Representative Noyes, we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to it. Appreciate it.
Quickly from our legal counsel and possibly from the DMV, and then we'll make a straw poll and we'll see you on the floor. Oh, yeah, and then we'll see you on the,
Nothing going over there too.
oh, okay.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. For the record, I'm Damian Leonard from the Office of Legislative Counsel. So let me, the meeting here, apologize. So the amendment should be posted to the webpage. What it does is after section 22 in the bill, which is the current section requiring amendment of the safety inspection portions of the inspection rules. This would add 4 new sections. The first would update the inspection of motor vehicles section. The changes, the initial group of changes here is simply truing it up with, not truing it up with, but simply breaking out the different vehicles. And it's important to clarify that commercial motor vehicles need to be inspected as required by federal law, because there are federal requirements for inspection of commercial motor vehicle equipment. And then all other motor vehicles would be inspected undergo a safety inspection every 2 years, and either a visual emissions inspection or an emissions or onboard diagnostic systems inspection once each year is applicable. So that basically takes the current system and says that each year you need an emissions inspection, but every other year you get a safety inspection as part of your inspection. Section 22B would switch that to just every 2 years for everything. It's important to note that this section is contingent on approval by the federal government, as Rep. Noyes said. Section 22C directs the Department of Environmental Conservation to amend the state implementation plan for inspection and maintenance of motor vehicles to permit emissions inspections of non-commercial motor vehicles every other year. And then upon completion of the amendment, to seek approval from the EPA for that amendment. And then section 22D, as Representative Noyes just mentioned, directs the DMV to report back next January on revisions to the current fee schedule, where there's one fee for inspections of motor vehicles, including commercial motor vehicles, regardless of how often it occurs per year. And just to ensure that the amendments to the inspection schedule don't result in the loss of revenue to the department, And then in the effective dates, it would just make 22B contingently effective upon approval of the amended emissions inspection regulations.
Do you want comments?
I could certainly start there now, I think, if we've got the data, please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't feel like I can support this at this point because it's a big change. And at a time when a lot of air quality, regulations are being rolled back. This looks like it really significant, and I would want to hear again from Rachel Stevens at the Department of Environmental Conservation and Air Quality, and I would just feel like I'd need more testimony to be able to approve this. It's a big change at the last minute. I appreciate Representative Noyes, working to, I guess I could support the, well, I wouldn't want the language about the every other year. And yes, I could maybe support the every other year for non-emissions inspection, but I feel like I would need more adjustment.
Anybody else? Problem? Representative White?
Given the current DMV bill and the charge for the department to basically look at the whole inspection process and come up with changes to that based on safety and this, I guess I would feel comfortable with some kind of language saying, please also look at the timing of inspections and consider going to every other year for everything but the emissions inspection. Just ask them to consider that as one of the many changes they are considering. Because I am in agreement with Rec Park. It's kind of a lot at this stage of the game, but if we can wrap it into what we've already agreed the DMV is going to do, that feels more workable.
Representative Casey?
If you're going in every year for your emissions, why can't you do the M-Buff at that time, right, for electric? I mean, gas guys gotta go in there anyways and get their emissions test every year. I don't see what's so technical about it. Everything comes out in the wash the same, other than your mechanical inspections are getting done every 2 years. And while you're there, if they see that your tire is ready to fall off or something, they'd say something like, hey, I can't let you drive away. You're at a risk. So I don't know, that's what I heard. I thought I heard you're gonna get your emissions test every year. Right? So I don't see the problem. I'm okay with it. I'm okay doing it.
I think what I boil it down to is, we heard, we put language in the table last year for the agency to come back to us with recommendations to really get at the heart of the matter of trying to alleviate some of the financial concerns with consumers out there. And we did that. There's a lot of things that were, whether it's arrested brakes, lights, or windshields and things like that, that consumers aren't gonna have to pay if they can't afford it. That's true savings. My issue with this underlying bill is, you could come in every year for the emissions, but the problem is you don't have to look too far to understand people sometimes don't do what they're supposed to do. The temporary registrations, 2/3 of those were maybe fraud, maybe not. And not to have that delineation out there for law enforcement or somebody to say, hey, yeah, no, they did go in and get that emissions. There's gonna be no way to know, because Representative Burke pointed out that you're just gonna have an inspection sticker that's good for 2 years. So what's the impetus for somebody to come in and say, all right, I gotta get my emissions? You're gonna see that drop quite drastically, just by nature. I'd probably do it. Like, you know, I got my inspection, I'm not getting pulled over, I'm good. So, theoretically, that, or not theoretically, I figured that will affect the miles-based, numbers. Once we start collecting that data, is that those numbers won't be true. So that, I mean, that's my concern, and I can't, you know, support this, amendment.
Representative Tomlin?
I'm curious if we could hear the agency's position.
You have a position?
Andrew Collier, Commissioner DMV. I think just at this late in the game, I know we've discussed the biannual earlier on in the session. I think we have a good roadmap to make some changes. And start to see that we our original bill. So we're not supportive of this amendment as it currently sits. That's not to say something years to come, but might not have time what's here, so. I just think operationally, it is, let me be clear, it's more an operational aspect of it. To operationalize two separate safety inspections and emissions inspection, then the biannual aspect. And it's hard to kind of operationalize.
It's yours if you want. Representative Howard?
Yeah, I mean, I like the concept. I think it's a little late. I agree with Representative White that it would have been nice to put just a little language in there while you're studying, you know, the inspection program and looking to find deficiencies or changes in it. And I think Rep. Casey has it. I mean, if we end up having an inspection system that is like every other year, it's safety, even if it's reduced safety, you know, not reduced inspection, but really focused just on safety, which is what we're trying to do. And then the off year, you are getting your emissions inspected. And even though batteries don't get emissions inspected, they could go in just to get their mileage read. You know, but all of that needs to be sort of sugared out, like what would be the fee? It seems like we don't tell garages how much to charge. A few don't charge anything, some charge higher prices. You know, we want to make sure if all you're going in is getting your emissions checked, or somebody's taking a picture of your mileage, you know, what's the charge for that? So I think it's going to require more thought. But there's, you know, it would be great if we could have that looked at while they're looking at the inspection program. And again, I question, you know, how much the inspection program costs the state versus how much they get from the fees, whether it actually covers it or not.
Representative Keiser?
Thank you, Representative Dwight. This is a great attempt to lower, as I understand it, lower the cost to the consumer, which is great. Do we have any analysis of the cost savings to a consumer? Hearing none, I will say, okay, that seems we ought to know the impact of what we are enacting. Thank you.
I do want to clarify couple of pieces for this piece. We're not asking the DMV in this miscellaneous motor vehicle bill to go and analyze the inspection. We've already done that. These are implementing through, and I think it's a great opportunity through the presentation, the amendment on the floor is that to go a little further in, we are reducing and changing the burden on Vermonters for tires, power steering, suspension, brake rotors, lighting. We're not asking the DMV to go analyze anymore. We're implementing these and we're allowing them through emergency rules to implement them upon effective date. And then during that 6-month period, then when they actually have to go to the LCAR process, implement and recommend any additional changes to those rules of what they've learned during that 6 months. But the savings to Vermonters on a dozen or more of the most critical or most failures that are costing money today will be effective with passage of the bill. It's not we're not asking the DMV to go analyze new ones. They're going to implement these and then adjust over that 6 months. So the savings to Vermonters is going to happen in this program if we pass this bill. That's going to be immediate savings to Vermonters that we've already asked them to do, and they're going to do it effective July 1st. Environmentally, I think it's particularly positive that we don't hear about smog and ozone in our air where we did. If you back up 10 and 15 years ago, that was a position. So don't want the committee to be the leader in pulling away from things that have worked in terms of the environment, unless we know that the cars that come out in the future are substantially beyond where they are today. And making an environmental policy on an amendment would involve a purview pretty beyond ours, just ours. And then I guess lastly, the mileage-based user fee program that we are also implementing January 1st, provided the T-bill passes in one form or two forms of batteries and potential other hybrids that are being
And that's if
discussed.
you think hybrids are still in place, and that would have a direct impact on the emissions, people not doing it.
Hybrids
Yeah.
are still in the T-bill in the piece right now, so
Yeah.
I would think that we would not be in a position to support the amendment, but I think that would also, having an amendment presented will give us a chance to make sure that's clarified on the floor. So Representative Casey?
I just wanted to say the smog you're talking about there has been replaced by blue smoke.
Out of Canada, yes.
The last 4 or 5 years.
Yes, it's been ridiculous.
Roll us back big time on,
Didn't come from our cars.
oh, no, but
I hear you. So I would say this time, the bell is ringing, and I think we've been through most of the committee, unless somebody else wants to put their hand up. I'd look for a vote, how would we phrase that?
Yeah, I move to find this amendment by Representative Noyce on favor.
So if you are in favor of the amendment, you would vote, I guess.
Well, I said unfavorable, so you would,
Unfavorable. So 1, 2, 3, 4, we got 9, no, 8, sorry. Can't count, we got 2 missing. So, and those that are in favor of the amendment. So, then we're gonna put that on there, and then we have 2 absences. So we are going to present on the floor as unfavorable to your amendment. We appreciate your work to bring it forward, and we're certainly comfortable with you
So
presenting it on the
1 and 2.
8, 1, and 2. Yep. And Kathy, thank you